Generations 1023, Kerry James hanging out with you. So, Boy George and Culture Club taking the stage at Wolf Trap this Thursday night, September 1st. Ticket information is available at our website, generations1023.com. And joining us right now on the phone, the legend, Boy George. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
You're welcome.
So, what can we expect from the show this Thursday night at Wolf Trap?
Well, we are very, we're very excited when we're on stage. So we just come with a lot of love, a lot of big songs. You know, we're lucky we have more than a couple of hits. You know, sometimes it's like, what should we do? So we do all our hits. We do some great covers. But mostly, you know, it's a really connected show. We try so hard to connect with the audience, you know, from the minute we walk on. You know, we kind of treat the audience as our friend. It's a whole new feeling out there. You know, it's so beautiful.
So it's almost like an intimate sense.
Well, you know, there is the kind of obviously the show aspect, you know, because obviously we're putting on a show, but there has to be a sort of intimacy, even with sort of a bit of drama. You need the warmth of the audience and you need me as a performer to make the audience feel very comfortable, that they can just really let go and enjoy themselves. And I think because we step on the stage in such a positive frame of mind, you know, everybody in the band is kind of so excited about doing the shows, and, you know, it kind of affects the audience. It's almost like we're in the same party, you know.
I love it. See, you bring the mood to them, and we're already pumped up anyway to see you. And is there something specifically that you guys do to just stay so positive?
I think it is very much a kind of thought process, but I think also it's important when you walk on stage with other musicians to expand the moment. Don't make it just about what you're going to do. Look around you. See that there's a whole band, there's crew, there's lights, there's outside sound, and then you've got the audience, you know. So there's a lot to focus on, and that can really help, you know, your performance and, you know, realizing that not everybody gets to do this for a job. You know, that's like the cool part.
That is the cool part.
I paid for this.
I'm sure, Boy George, you've told this story many times, but I was wondering if our listeners could hear it directly from Boy George. How did Culture Club come together?
Culture Club was a sort of mad accident. I was in and around lots of bands sort of at the end of the punk period, and then, you know, what was happening in London, everybody was kind of starting bands. It was like this fever. Everyone I knew was a musician, and even people that couldn't play, they would just, you know, I think from that sort of punk spirit of like breaking the rules, you know, you don't necessarily have to be able to play your bass as long as you look good, you know, and you can find a few notes. And so obviously what we did in the end was very musical, you know, but it came from that sort of spirit of, we can do this. You know, we actually, you know, we could start a band and we could be successful. And that's a mad concept. You know, when you come from, you know, a sort of working class suburban background, you don't sort of dream big, you know, and then suddenly here you are 30 odd years later discussing it.
Well, was there that obvious moment then where you're like, hey, you know what, guys, we're actually onto something. Like, we're all really talented. We can actually perform and get people to come to see us. I mean, did you always know that you were a gifted singer?
Well, I think that, you know, this information is more a case now than it was back in the day, because when you first get famous, you're young, you don't really understand much. You just go with this insane sort of almost like a tidal wave. And then I think later on you get to breathe a bit more and say, actually, I really love doing this and I'm good at it.
Yes.
You know, and I want to get better at it. I think that's the question. I'd actually like to improve what I do on stage. So I'm always looking at what else can I do to engage the crowd? What else can I do to make the night unforgettable? You've already got the music. You know what I'm saying? But if you've got a bad waiter in a restaurant, it doesn't matter how good the food is.
But that's so cool. Like, still at this stage of your career, you're still looking for ways to make it better.
Well, because I believe it can get better.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing. You know, I mean, I think obviously you've got the framework of the music. That's all there. And I also kind of, as a writer, I operate on the view that everything already exists anyway.
Right.
You know, you're just taking ideas from a sort of really stocked pantry, a rock and roll, you know, stocked pantry that has everything you need in it. So I'm lucky because I love so much different music, from sort of mad heavy rock to country to dance. You know, there's nothing I don't like.
Recently, Boy George, MTV celebrated their Video Music Awards, and obviously MTV has gone through a lot of programming adaptations over the last 4 decades. How was MTV impactful to your career, and do you believe it was really mutually benefiting?
I think it was a moment where, bands had toured for years, and there was this whole thing that if you were going to be a credible musician, you had to tour. And suddenly, here comes these new bands with these videos that are like a sort of digital postcard to the audience. And suddenly, people that may have had to wait till you were on tour got to see your new song, in the middle of Nebraska, in Arkansas, and wherever it was, Miami. And America's a big place. So suddenly you had this chance to, permeate the culture with this new mad medium. And the TV is, we learn so much from the TV. It's our friend, isn't it?
Well, I think you really hit it, though, because I was living in Virginia in 1983 when we got MTV, and we hadn't been exposed to this kind of music, this kind of art, this kind of fashion, these songs. So it was eye-opening and electric for us when you guys came on TV. I mean, it was this whole new thing. So that's a really good point, because we wouldn't have been able to see you on tour like we can now.
Well, and also, this is where we are now is such an interesting time, because never have we had so much access to each other's lives.
Right.
You know what I mean? You suddenly realize how many interesting people there are out there. How many scary people there are out there. It's just fascinating that everybody gets to have their say now.
Exactly. I totally get that. And as we're talking about this,
it still has to be good. The music still has to be like, I always feel like if you're going to go buy a table, you want to get a good oak table, and I feel the same way about making music.
I want to go back to 1984, November 24th and 25th of 1984 in London. A group of very talented musicians came together to record Do They Know It's Christmas? And Boy George, you're not only one of the more gifted voices on that song, but also one of the most present voices on that record. We'll listen to a snip of it right now.
In our world of plenty, we can spread a smile of joy. Throw your arms around the world at Christmas time.
Can you speak to your experience during that recording session?
It's one of those sort of mad moments that I remember very well, but I also know that I wasn't completely present in that moment, because I sort of experienced a different type of presence now as an older man. And I know, a lot of those things, they happen so fast. I was in New York one minute, get this phone call from Bob Geldof, who I don't know very well, but he's a fellow Irishman. So I'm like, okay, well, he's Irish, there's a good sign for him. I come back to London not really knowing what Band Aid was going to be. Walk in the studio, everyone's there. Everyone you can think of. Every band, every artist. You can think of Duran's there, Simon Le Bon hugs me. It's all kind of insane. And then you just get marched into this room and told to sing. These are the lines you're singing. And it's not the way you're normally treated. You're not treated like that. Everyone sort of puts around you when you're a star.
Did you get any kind of rehearsal for it?
No rehearsal. There was cameras in your face. There just wasn't time. I mean, maybe if I'd been, my manager had been there, he might have said, right, comb your hair. Change it. But I sort of arrived like a crazy person. And
but you sounded great. You sounded fantastic. And you looked like you were having fun.
It was fantastic. I remember sort of just looking around, just thinking, this has never happened before and probably won't happen again.
Right.
Right.
What do you think about the way people consume music today, and do you miss those old days?
Well, I think people who love music always consume it in any way they can, whether it's through their phone or through friends. But I just think I'm excited that people are more open to different things now. But there are also a lot of people out there who don't understand that what makes an artist truly interesting is their intention. It's not necessarily what they're doing, because I don't believe it's hard to make music. I think this is the big myth we've been sold for years. It's so difficult and only a handful of people can do it. But that's not true. I know that's not true anymore. So it makes me kind of enjoy everything around me in a way that I never did before.
I cannot wait to see you here in a few nights, and I really appreciate you talking to us here. And I know the winners who scored tickets to your show from our radio station are super excited. Boy George, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Ahead of time to tell you they're going to have an amazing evening.
I believe it. I believe it. It's
How amazing it will be done with both of us, but we both have to.
Thank you so much, my friend, for taking the time. I think you got a couple minutes left on the end, but I just really appreciate you guys. And
No, that's good. It was a great interview. Thank you so much.
you bet. And I'm a huge fan, and I can't wait to see you in a couple nights.
And interviews are not often, so cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. All right.
See you later. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.